reason or another. McCain was one of them, actually. So this would just, this would say from 2012 on, a birth certificate, that all needs to be established before the election, so that we don't have these theories going back and forth. So I would have to say, I've done as much reading as I think anybody's done on this, and and what did it for me at the very end was the birth announcement that was put in the newspaper that was extemporaneous. It could have been a false announcement. I don't believe it was. But the Republican Party is taking a lot of negative press on this. And so the liberal media is having a field day with this, which is taking away from the fervency of the grassroots about this health care plan. Yeah, Mike.
Well, I guess this is kind of a loaded question, but you mentioned Pelosi pulling in. I'm sure there's other special interest groups that are for Obamacare.
Yep.
And some of us in this room may not even know we may be helping them and not realize it. Can you give us some idea who some of the special interest groups
Chamber of Commerce, the United States Chamber of Commerce has been too accommodating in my view on this. I don't understand the AARP on this. I don't understand.
They get federal money.
Well, it does close the donut hole down, but at what price, I don't know. I've been disappointed in the AARPs, but I did read yesterday in the newspaper where the lady that's head of Texas has come out and said, wait a minute, we're not for any particular plan. We're going to take a wait and see. So I got my card when I was 50 for the discount, when I traveled, but that's it. I think farmers in on this too. I think the big drug companies have paid a price to stay in the game. So you don't see the kind of health, you don't see the same kind of rhetoric about drug prices that you heard from the left-wing media that you did before. They've been kind of co-opted. Any of the people that were at that group that went to the White House that day and volunteered $80 billion worth of future profits that they had not made yet and might not ever make to the plan, they've been really quiet. I've been puzzled as to why the for-profit hospitals have been largely silent on this. I have not had one for-profit hospital come see me. Yeah, but they're not for-profit. Yeah. But for the for-profits, and this is because there's a threat to eliminate the ability for the doctors to own clinics. So more than the silence is deafening us from some of these groups, and that's a great question. Yeah, Josh, how are you?
I was curious, what is the constitutional basis for this plan and then any of the alternative plans?
I don't think there's any constitutional basis.
What about the alternative plans that you
Well, I think that the reason why you haven't seen just a rash of Republican reform plans is because I think there's some deep constitutional questions about how you impose on an entire nation a reform plan.
But you mentioned that there were other Republicans that there was an alternate and you end up looking at sort of insurance reform that she suggested. You get these kind of alternate plans, but there's no big uproar that it violates the Constitution.
No, and I really do believe that that's why there hasn't been this great compromise that I think Obama thought was coming. There hasn't been a big powwow, a big sit down where, traditionally Arlen Specter was always in the middle of one of those big battles. He's now over on the other side, so he doesn't even get back at the table anymore. But be wary when you have these big sit downs because good things usually don't come out for conservatives.
Let me ask you a question. My background in healthcare, you visited.
Absolutely.
More aggravation than work. But We hear a lot of things about what's going on in veteran affairs, veterans benefits, and veterans health care. And I think that part of the plan at one point or another was to be able to take that and merge that into some universal health care aspect and not leave the veterans health care plan alone or improve it for our veterans. You know, I'm just wondering how much of that can we push away or, get enough pushback so we leave them alone and improve their plan and be able to do the things for those folks who fought for our freedom instead of merge them in with one other group of people, a special group of folks that require different types of medicine, if you will, and different types of treatment. What can we do and what currently?
Well, you just need to, I mean, it's like, putting another exclamation mark behind 10. But there have been some very progressive things happening in VA with their capacity. They're going out to more private doctors.
But do you think at this point that the Health Reform Act is going to try and include veterans health?
I think you've seen every idea on the table, and I think the Senate will narrow it down. I don't believe the Senate, if they come out with a public plan, it will look so similar to a co-op or a pool, a risk pool, that you won't be able to tell the difference. But I think even the blue dog won't touch the veterans stuff. I mean, they leave the veterans care alone because they recognize, like all of us, that's very important.
What are our chances of stopping this healthcare nightmare from going through? And what are the strongest actions we can take to stop it if we do have a chance? Do we have a chance?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because if the Senate changes the bill, then it has to come back into the House for ratification. There has to be a conference committee. And then the conference committee, the House and the Senate will have to vote on it again. So, like I said, when this thing comes back to the House, it's going to be, it can't have a public, I mean, there's just a fear now. The reason why the Speaker needed to get that thing passed before the August recess is that I do not believe they thought they could ever get it passed after the August recess, after going home. So there's a chance.
And what are the actions, the strongest action we can take to make it stop?
Well, I would identify in Texas, because Texas on an envelope or Texas on an email, even though they're not in your district, you pay attention. Anybody in Texas that's wavering. Chet Edwards is a wonderful advocate for veterans care. But on this, I believe Chet could get some input on how you feel. Right down here. Eddie Bernice Johnson. Now, let me tell you something. Eddie Bernice Johnson probably could be persuaded to vote against the bill because they're not liberal enough. But she has conviction about that. And right over the highway, right over there.
We have time for about one more question and then we'll go, okay? So
Yes, ma'am.
We know small businesses are the backbone of the country, and I'm with a small home health agency, and we have a lot of considerations. For one thing, our expenditures, about 90% is payroll. We do help our employees right now with insurance, but if this goes through like it is, we don't know if we'll be able to. Secondly, several rural home health agencies have had to shut down because of the pay rate being cut.
Right.
And we know there's another pay rate.
That's pending. I don't think that will go through. The other threat, that there's an implicit threat out there that the doctors are being held to. And that's why you found the AMA come out for this, is if you don't go along with this, then we're going to cut your pay rates down to where you can't survive.
Well, and they don't consider what goes into home health. They don't include telemedicine as an expenditure. They don't include labor costs and shortage of nurses and therapists. And they don't include software update with CMS. And the profit margin for a freestanding home health is 1%. It's very low. And another concern is our primary care physicians, which someone brought up over here. a lot of the physicians we work with, they don't take